Monkey Pox. All right, here we go for another virus. Hey everybody, it's Dr. David with another Ask Dr. David. And of course, as you can imagine, I've been getting quite a few questions about monkeypox. Now, there has been some pretty good information in the news, certainly nothing controversial what's going on, but I know that a lot of people want to hear the lowdown from me and to kind of get my take on everything. So, monkeypox is what's called a DNA virus, which is what chickenpox is, as well as like herpes viruses and of those types of things. But it's actually most similar to smallpox, which is a disease that certainly caused lots of problems back in the 20th century, but has been completely eradicated. For many, many years now. Now, monkeypox was first identified back in the 70s, and it almost always has taken place in Africa, although there have been small outbreaks elsewhere in the world. And that's one of the things that is different right now is that we are seeing, I believe, 16 different countries so far have seen monkeypox in the past few weeks. Okay. So first of all, how do you know you have monkeypox? First of all, at least right now, there's not a very good likely, not a very likely chance at all that you will be exposed to monkeypox. Okay, but monkeypox, similar to chickenpox and smallpox, starts off with a general flu like illness, fever, tiredness, achiness, maybe some upper respiratory symptoms. But one of the things that does differentiate monkeypox from those others is there is almost always lymph nodes present. Now, the most common lymph nodes are up in the neck area, under the jaw, over to the side. They can also be under the arm. They also could be found in the groin, which is, of course, where lymph nodes are typically found anyway. Now, what we do know is that often whatever site that there was the exposure to on the skin, which we'll get to more in a second, that may be closest to where the lymph nodes will start to swell. So if you have it in the area around here, you may be more likely to see it appear in the face. Whereas if it's in the arms, under the arms, legs, etc. Now, one of the other things that does differentiate chickenpox and monkeypox is that monkeypox can be seen on the palms as well as the soles of the feet, and chickenpox usually doesn't cause that to happen. Another thing is that monkeypox usually it's more of a pus-filled fluid blister, whereas with chickenpox, it's usually a more cloudy type of clear type of thing. But both of them, you are contagious prior to the pox coming out. So whenever that flu-like symptoms start, you're contagious, and probably for a day or two beforehand. And the contagious period is not going to end until after the last pox have healed and scabbed over. Okay. Now, another big difference, and the reason why you'll hear many people reporting now that this is not likely going to be a pandemic, widespread type of thing. And why is that? It's not nearly as contagious. Now, it can be found certainly in the fluid of those vesicles, and it certainly can be found in respiratory droplets. And if you remember going back to our conversations about COVID, COVID could be in respiratory droplets, but it could also be in aerosols. And aerosols float and they go very far distances, whereas respiratory droplets are much more heavy and they're going to fall faster. So it's not like being in a room 10 minutes later is going to cause a problem like it would for COVID, for instance. Now, another thing is that, and this is part of what we're hearing right now, is that can it be transferred during close, intimate contact? Now, this is not felt to be a sexually transmitted disease. It certainly is not a disease of for gay men, even though it does seem as if the spread is happening with gay men, in particular men who are having very close relations with other men. The reason it seems to be that population is just simply that seems to be where it started off with, and their worse and their and close contact is where it happens. In fact, there's some discussion also. I think it needs to be more worked out that there may have been two kind of like rave types of things in Europe that may have been like kind of like a super spreader, for lack of a better term, although it's not really a super spread, but a spreader type of event. So if a person, so that is part of the reason why we are seeing some of the more interesting locations. Typically, it is not found on the genitals. Typically, it's not found around the anus. But certainly, if one is having intimate relations where those body parts are involved, then those body parts could obviously be a source of spread. Because also, there's usually some kind of roughing up of the skin, and of course, in an intercourse type of way, there would be more of that type of, a rough kind of, or at least, burnishing type of action, if you will, that would be happening in those types of things. But in no way, shape, or form should this be thought of as a gay only disease, a gay disease caused by gay people, or anything whatsoever. That is the furthest from the truth. Okay, so a couple of things just to check my notes out here. But just to be clear, also, that does mean that if a person does have the sores and they were to be intimate with anybody, it could be caused. I mean, the spread could be caused. Okay. Now, another thing that you may have heard about, and again, nobody's talking about rushing out and getting a vaccine for this. In fact, I don't think that will ever really be seen for this because we're not expecting that type of spread. However, at least it's good to know that the vaccine that was originally developed for smallpox also does work for monkeypox. One of the good things, and this is part of the reason why we're not expecting a big spread. You know how with COVID, how they've keeping becoming more contagious because of the variation in the genetic code in this particular, in that case, like the spike protein, how there's like changes in the RNA pattern. Well, DNA viruses they have a much better way of correcting mutations than do RNA. So the likelihood that a mutation would occur in monkeypox that would make it significantly more contagious, it's not felt that would happen. For that matter, the fact that there's not a change in that the DNA mutations don't really seem to happen would also mean if one were to take a vaccine, then the likelihood that that vaccine would continue to work, because again, as we've seen with COVID, how when part of the reason why the vaccines aren't working is because of that DNA change in the spike protein, pardon me, RNA change in the spike protein, that's making the antibodies not be as remembering and seeing the protein that is the spike protein. Again, that shouldn't be happening with monkeypox. Okay, now there are no specific medical treatments for monkeypox. So what does one do? Well, first of all, if you do think you have monkeypox or somebody you know have monkeypox, this is a reportable disease. Please let your physician, local authorities need to know how far this is spreading. But, and you're probably going to be shocked with this next comment of mine, but our immune support protocol, high dose vitamin A, the Larix powder, arabinogalactan, the vitamin C, the zinc, those high dose vitamin A, that is our key to fighting off all viruses, strengthening the immune system. The most important part of fighting off a virus is having a good immune system. So, again, shocker for me to tell you, are your vitamin D levels optimized around, at least 50, 60? Is your zinc levels in that middle part of range, 90 to 110? Those are absolutely things that we all can be doing. I know I sound like a broken record. I'm sure I will be this broken record until the day I retire, because I do not see the vitamin D and zinc situation going away. All right, I'm just checking my notes to see. Nope, I think I got it all there. So, thanks for listening. Of course, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe and hit the notification button if you haven't already. And of course, please join us on our Patreon, where we continue to put up exclusive information. Thanks, and have a good day.